Have you ever wondered who really created the most futuristic country on the planet? When we look at Dubai and Abu Dhabi, with their skyscrapers touching the clouds, luxury cars cruising along immaculate avenues, and the desert glistening in the sun, it's easy to believe it all sprang from a modern miracle. But behind all this grandeur lies an almost poetic story, hidden beneath the sands of time. A story about a man who saw the impossible and turned it into destiny, a leader named Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the true creator of United Arab Emirates. Before the lights and gold, there was only silence. The wind cut through the desert, and the Bedouin tribes struggled to survive in the relentless heat. There were no skyscrapers, no highways, no gleaming marinas, just faith, sand, and the hope of better days. What few imagine is that, from this landscape of scarcity, a man capable of uniting people, transforming mindsets, and changing the course of history would emerge. Sheikh Zayed was not born surrounded by power. He was born surrounded by challenges. But it was precisely in these challenges that he found his strength. While the world looked at the UAE as a patch of barren land, Zayed saw a future blossoming among the dunes. He believed that every grain of sand could conceal an opportunity, and that a nation's true wealth lay in its people, not in oil or luxury, but in unity and purpose. It was this visionary mindset that led him to create a federation where previously only invisible borders existed. Can you imagine what it's like to convince rival tribes, with centuries of traditions and differences, to walk in the same direction? Sheikh Zayed did it. With wisdom, faith, and diplomacy, he accomplished what the entire world thought was impossible. The United Arab Emirates, a nation built on cooperation and mutual respect. He didn't just unite 7 emirates, he united 7 destinies. And the most impressive thing is that he did it without wars, without imposition, only with dialogue, vision, and courage. Today, the world knows the glitz of Dubai and the elegance of Abu Dhabi. But what many still don't know is that it all began with a man who believed the future could be shaped by faith and education. Sheikh Zayed invested not only in roads and buildings, but also in schools, hospitals, and culture. He wanted progress to be sustainable, humane, and balanced. So, while other countries were blinded by the power of oil, he used it as a tool to free his people from dependence on chance. What you're about to discover may surprise you, because this isn't just the biography of an Arab leader. It's a lesson in purpose, resilience, and vision. Sheikh Zayed believed that true leadership lies not in domination, but in service. He planted palm trees where there was only sand, built cities where there were only dunes, and created hope where there was once silence. And it's curious to think that while many dreamed of finding wealth in the soil, he preferred to sow wisdom. His legacy is not just of concrete and steel, but of faith and humanity. The world calls him Father of the Nation, but for the people of the Emirates, he is more than that. He is the mirror of what it means to believe in a greater purpose. Before the towers, before the records, before the luxury and glitz, there was a leader who planted the seed of greatness in the middle of the desert, and it is from this point that our journey begins. Sheikh Zayed believed that every transformation begins with an idea, and that ideas only gain strength when they are shared. Perhaps that's why his story still resonates today, as an invitation to look beyond the visible. He believed that a nation is built when people walk together, united by a greater purpose. And in a way, that's exactly what happens here in this space. Every person who watches, comments, and shares their impressions helps keep the flame of this type of content alive, stories that inspire, awaken, and make us reflect on what truly matters. If this topic resonates with you, if Sheikh Zayed's journey has somehow made you see the world through different eyes, leave a comment below with what resonated most with this story. Your perspective, your feelings, your opinion. All of this helps create a community of people who value culture, purpose, and transformation. And if you believe that knowledge is a way to travel without leaving home, take advantage and leave your like right now. It's a simple gesture, but it makes all the difference in helping this content reach more people who also seek inspiration and curiosity about the world. Your participation here is what keeps this channel growing and producing stories like this. Stories that aren't just about places, but about people, values, and visions that have changed the course of humanity. So, if this kind of journey inspires you, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's next. There's still so much to discover, and this journey through the heart of the United Arab Emirates is just beginning. Long before the lights of Dubai lit up the sky and its skyscrapers reflected the golden sunset, the United Arab Emirates was nothing more than an immense desert, silent and unforgiving. The wind blew over endless dunes, and the sand, shaped by time, held the secrets of a people who learned to survive where almost nothing flourished. Life there was simple, but harsh. The Bedouin tribes lived off the desert, offered hunting, fishing, and trading pearls on the shores of the Persian Gulf. It was an existence shaped by endurance and faith, where every drop of water and every shadow were precious. The heat was so intense that the horizon shimmered, as if the air itself were burning. The nights, in contrast, brought a cold that cut like a blade. In this extreme setting, every decision was a matter of survival. There was no luxury, no technology, nor even abundance. There was only the desert, and within, fear to people who, despite scarcity, never lost their sense of purpose. The tribes were nomadic, moving according to the seasons and their needs. They lived with the bare essentials, sharing food, water, and faith. The desert, even arid, was a school. It taught patience, courage, and respect for nature. The economy revolved around fishing and the pearl trade, tiny jewels plucked from the seabed with effort and hope. It was these pearls that, for many years, sustained families and created bridges of trade with merchants from India, Persia, and Africa. But even this trade was subject to the whims of the tides and the uncertainty of the times. Life in the Emirates, before the Union, was marked by simplicity and daily struggle. Yet, there was something invisible that kept the people going, a deep, unshakable faith that withstood the sun, hunger, and loneliness. It's almost impossible to imagine that the same land, once home to only tents and camels, now houses some of the most impressive buildings on the planet. But it was precisely from this scarcity that the force that would shape the future was born. Adversity taught the tribes to value what truly matters, working together, keeping their word, respecting nature, and trusting in something greater than themselves. While the modern world was constantly chasing progress, the Bedouins learned to wait for the right time for everything, and perhaps it was this silent wisdom that paved the way for the miracle to come. The contrast between past and present is almost poetic. Where there was once silence, there is now life. Where there was once sand, there are now cities that shine at night, like stars fallen to earth. What was once a symbol of isolation has become a global center of culture, tourism, and innovation. But if we look closely, we can still feel the echo of that ancient simplicity in the eyes of the elders, in the prayers of the mosques, in the stories told over tea. It's as if the desert, despite having been covered by avenues and skyscrapers, remains present, reminding us that it all began with faith, resilience, and purpose. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because to understand the true legacy of the Emirates, one must understand how a leader was born from this landscape of scarcity, a man who looked at the dunes and saw in them the map of an empire. Sheikh Zayed was born in a place where time seemed to pass slowly, amidst the heat of the desert and the simplicity of traditions. His childhood in Al Ain, a small town surrounded by oases and golden dunes, was marked by a silent observation of the world around him. While others saw only the arid and predictable routine of Bedouin life, he saw something beyond. Possibilities. From an early age, Zayed displayed an uncommon curiosity, a keen eye for every detail of nature, for the stories of the elders, and for the caravans crossing the desert from distant lands. He was a boy who asked questions that few dared to ask. He grew up listening to the sound of the wind and the clinking of camels, but also to the call of faith that echoed in the people's prayers. He learned early on that the desert, however challenging, taught values that not even time could erase: patience, wisdom, and respect for life. And it was with these principles that he began to shape his vision of the future. As a young man, He enjoyed gazing at the stars and often said that they show the way even in the darkness. This simple and poetic phrase sums up who he was, someone who saw direction even when everything around him seemed empty. But what really set him apart wasn't just his faith or his optimism, but his transformative mindset. Zayed believed that leadership was born not of power, but of service. While many rulers of the time sought to strengthen borders and wealth, he dreamed of uniting hearts and destinies. He believed that the true treasure lay not beneath the earth, but in the people. And this mindset would become the foundation of all the transformation that was to come. He didn't just want to survive in the desert. He wanted to make it a place of prosperity and dignity. His youth was a mixture of learning and challenge. He traveled long distances on horseback, conversing with Bedouins, fishermen, and merchants, trying to understand how each person saw the world. He observed the hardships of the people and wondered why so many lived without opportunities. This restlessness would become his fuel. He believed that progress was a choice, and that even the desert could flourish with unity, wisdom, and purpose. It was a bold thought for the time, almost impossible, but it was precisely in the impossible that Sheikh Zayed saw the space to create the new. Zayed didn't just see the desert, he saw what it could become. This vision stayed with him throughout his life, guiding his decisions and inspiring an entire nation. He believed that every transformation begins in the mind before happening in reality, and it was with this conviction that he took the first steps toward changing history. His name began to be respected not for his authority, but for his compassion. He listened, helped, and acted with his heart. A rare thing in a world driven by fear and force. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding Sheikh Zayed's journey is understanding how a simple decision can redefine the destiny of an entire people. He didn't just lead, he inspired. And it was from this inspiration that the idea of uniting what was once divided, of transforming rivals into allies, and of transforming the desert into a symbol of hope for the world, was born. The history of the United Arab Emirates would not be the same without the moment when 7 destinies became one. It was 1971. The world was changing rapidly. Empires were crumbling, new nations were emerging, and oil was beginning to reshape the map of global power. In the heart of the Persian Gulf, nestled between dunes and oases, lay small independent emirates: Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Sharjah, Ajman, Fujairah, Al Quwain, and Ras Al Khaimah, each with its own leadership, culture, and interests. And it was there, amid historical differences and political challenges, that Sheikh Zayed saw an opportunity few would be able to see: unity. While others saw borders, he saw brothers. This phrase sums up the soul of his vision. Zayed believed that the future of the Arab peoples could not be built on divisions, but on collaboration. He understood that true power comes from unity, not from isolated force. It was with this thought that he initiated a process of dialogue that would forever change the destiny of the Middle East. His approach was simple yet powerful: listen before speaking, understand before deciding. He didn't impose his ideas, he sowed them patiently. For months, Sheikh Zayed traveled from tent to tent, from palace to palace, speaking with each tribal leader. His diplomacy was based not on political rhetoric, but on empathy. He reminded everyone that before borders and titles they were one people, children of the same sand, shaped by the same sun, and sustained by the same faith. This spiritual awareness opened doors that politics never could. Zayed knew that uniting the 7 Emirates would be more than a political act. It would be a symbol of hope for a region marked by conflict. The negotiations were not simple. There were disagreements over power, borders, and autonomy. Some feared losing their identity, others doubted that a federation could work. But Zayed, with his unshakable calm, responded that no wind can knock down a palm tree whose roots are united. This metaphor, deeply rooted in Arab culture, represented his mindset. Collective strength is what keeps a nation steadfast in the face of storms. Gradually, his example began to inspire confidence. He didn't speak of wealth or oil, He spoke of the future, of dignity, and of a legacy that would span generations. On December 2nd, 1971, the United Arab Emirates and Sheikh Zayed became its first president. It was a historic moment, not only for the country, but for the entire Arab world. The impossible had happened. 7 independent emirates decided to walk together under one flag. It wasn't a forced union, but one built on respect, faith, and purpose. This decision would mark the beginning of an era of unprecedented prosperity and stability. The impact of this union was profound. For the first time, natural resources and individual visions became a collective force. Infrastructure began to expand, the economy flourished, and with it, a sense of national pride took hold of the population. Sheikh Zayed believed that, just as the desert needed deep roots to sustain life, a nation needed solid values to sustain progress. His leadership was a rare balance between wisdom and action, between tradition and modernity. He didn't just build a country, he built an ideal. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because understanding the unity of the Emirates is to understand the birth of a mindset that would transform the desert into a modern empire. It was from this courageous decision that the dream began to take shape, and what was once just sand began to shine like gold in the sun. When oil began gushing from the soil of the United Arab Emirates, the entire world turned its eyes to that small patch of desert. Suddenly, a once-forgotten land became the center of attention of major powers. What many saw as an opportunity for quick wealth, Sheikh Zayed saw as a responsibility, a gift that should be used wisely. He knew that oil could change everything, but it could also corrupt a nation if treated solely as a source of power. Therefore, from the very beginning, his mindset was different. Oil would not be the end, but the means to build a solid, dignified, and humane future. Zayed often said that the true wealth of a country lies not in its soil, but in its people, and he proved it with his actions. While many leaders used their newfound wealth to flaunt it, he directed resources to where it mattered most: education, healthcare, and infrastructure. He built schools where there had previously been only tents, hospitals where the desert was the only horizon, and roads that connected cities and hearts. For him, development should not be limited to what was seen, but also to what was felt. It was necessary to create a country where well-being was shared, where every citizen was proud to be part of the history being written. The impact of these decisions was immense. A generation that had previously seen the future as distant began to see it as possible. The people began to study, travel, learn from other cultures, and bring back this knowledge to further the country's growth. Sheikh Zayed believed that true progress stems from the mind and spirit, and that oil should fuel learning, not just the economy. It was this mindset that transformed black gold into an instrument of national advancement. What's most fascinating is that, even in the face of abundance, he kept his feet firmly on the desert sand. He remained simple, approachable, and deeply connected to his faith. Zayed often walked among his people, talking to workers, listening to stories, understanding each person's needs. For him, governing was about service, and wealth only had value if used to improve lives. This vision of leadership, human, spiritual, and strategic, was what made the UAE a global example of balanced prosperity. But success didn't just come from money, it came from mentality who accompanied him. Zayed knew that all wealth without purpose is lost, and all abundance without direction turns into vanity. Therefore, every investment was considered responsibly. He built universities that would train the next generations of engineers, doctors, and teachers, created environmental preservation programs in the heart of the desert, and encouraged respect for traditions while opening the doors to the modern world. This balance between faith and progress is the true secret of the UAE's transformation. Sheikh Zayed's vision transcended the material. He didn't just want a wealthy nation, he wanted a nation that knew the reason for its wealth. Sheikh Zayed's legacy wasn't buried in the sands of time. It blossomed within them. Every tower rising in Dubai, every impeccable avenue in Abu Dhabi, and every sustainability project the world admires today bears a piece of his vision. He believed that the true power of a nation lay in balancing tradition and progress, spirituality and technology, faith and innovation. The same leader who once dug wells to bring water to his people is the same one who inspired a generation to bring knowledge, clean energy and prosperity to the world. When we walk the streets of the United Arab Emirates today, it's almost impossible to imagine that just a few decades ago, all this was nothing but desert. The Burj Khalifa, Dubai's artificial islands, and Abu Dhabi's futuristic structures weren't born by chance. They were born of a mindset. Zayed dreamed of a country dependent not only on oil, but on ideas. He wanted luxury to be a symbol not just of wealth, but of human creativity. That's why, alongside skyscrapers and luxury resorts, there are mosques, preserved oases, and environmental projects that show that development doesn't have to erase roots. Zayed believed that a country only truly grows when it grows with purpose. And purpose, for him, was caring for what God had created. That's why, long before the world talked about sustainability, he already spoke of balance between man and nature, between progress and the soul. He planted millions of trees in the middle of the desert, created nature reserves to protect endangered species, and promoted solar energy programs when few even believed in such technology. He knew that material wealth would be worthless if nature ceased to exist. And perhaps this was his greatest lesson. It's not enough to build buildings that touch the sky. We must ensure that the ground remains fertile for future generations. This philosophy shaped the way the Emirates presented itself to the world. Today, Abu Dhabi is a symbol of balance between luxury and environmental awareness. Dubai, a laboratory of innovation, is home to clean energy projects, smart mobility, and sustainable architecture. But amid all this modernity, there is one thing that has never changed: respect for faith and history. The greatness of the Emirates lies not only in its records, but in its soul. Every innovation carries a touch of spirituality. Every construction has a greater purpose, and every achievement is a tribute to the vision of a man who believed that the impossible is only that which has not yet been attempted. The leader who began by digging water wells ended up building a nation that teaches the world to dream. His example shows that prosperity and consciousness can coexist. He proved that luxury can be more than ostentation. It can be a symbol of wisdom, evolution, and faith applied to action. Today, the world looks to the Emirates and sees the future, but those who know history know that this future was shaped by someone who never stopped honoring the past. Now I want to delve even deeper into this subject, because Sheikh Zayed's legacy doesn't end with the works he built, but with the minds he inspired. His greatest creation wasn't a country, but a mindset, the belief that true greatness comes from the balance between service and dreaming. Sheikh Zayed proved that true luxury is creating something that lasts forever. His story is more than the biography of a leader. It is the portrait of a mindset that changed the course of a people. He didn't just build cities, he built purpose. He didn't just erect buildings, he built dignity. His legacy lies not only in the roads, the mosques, or the skyscrapers that touch the clouds, but in the way the UAE learned to see the world with faith, courage, and the certainty that the impossible is only that which has not yet been attempted. Today, as the sun sets over the desert and reflects off the glass facades of Dubai and Abu Dhabi, it's impossible not to feel Zayed's symbolic presence. He's present in the architecture that respects tradition and embraces the future, in the schools that train young visionaries, and in the trees that grow where once there was only sand. Every corner of the country carries a fragment of his vision, the idea that progress and spirituality can walk hand in hand, that technology and culture need not compete, and that the future is built with wisdom, not just wealth. Zayed ruled not with the strength of his hands, but with the strength of his ideas. He believed that power only has meaning when used to serve, and that a leader's true success is measured by the well-being of his people. That is why, to this day, his name is spoken with gratitude. He left a mark that goes beyond geography, beyond economics, a spiritual, human, and eternal mark. His journey is a reminder that leadership is, above all, belief. Believing when no one else does, dreaming when the world doubts, building even when the ground is uncertain. Today's Emirates are a living reflection of this dream. A land that in just a few decades rose from obscurity to become a global symbol of innovation, luxury, and progress. But above all, a nation that never forgets its roots. Amid the noise of modern cities and the silence of mosques, Sheikh Zayed's voice still echoes, soft, firm, inspiring. He taught that success without soul is empty and that true wealth lies in leaving something that inspires generations. Perhaps this is why visitors to the Emirates find not only beauty, but purpose. Behind every monumental construction lies a message. The future is not made of stone or steel, but of vision and values. Sheikh Zayed did not want to be remembered as the most powerful man in the East, but as the one who sowed unity, wisdom, and compassion in a fragmented world. He believed that service is the noblest act of leadership, and it was through service that he became eternal. This story isn't just about the Middle East. It's about transformation, mindset, and purpose. It's about what happens when someone decides to dream for everyone. And when we look at all that was built, we understand. Zayed didn't just change the destiny of the desert. He changed the way the world understands what's possible. If this story inspired you, leave a comment below with your thoughts on Sheikh Zayed. His vision, his faith, or his courage. Your opinion is part of this conversation and helps spread inspiring stories. Like the video to support this kind of content and subscribe to the channel to continue discovering the world with me. A world where each story, like Zayed's, reminds us that the impossible is just the beginning of something extraordinary.